I'll call the meeting of the Tomah Committee, City Committee of the Whole to order. Welcome everyone. Hopefully we get out of here before we get snowed in. Vicki, would you do roll call, please?
Adam Guyas, Michael Murray,
Here.
Richard Yerington,
Present.
John Glenn,
Here.
Sean Zabinski. Here. Mitchell Kale,
Here.
Lamont Kiefer,
Here.
Nellie Peter. Here. Dean Peterson.
Here.
Thank you. You want to do the clerk's report? Approval of the minutes of the March 14th, 2022 meeting.
Move to
approve.
Second.
Is there any additions or any other discussion? The motion was made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now, see the clerk's report? Becky?
Okay, so just a few things on the clerk's report. We have, we had an election last week, April 5th election. It was held at the fire station, was a success. We did make a few changes, and it was noted as far as COVID allowances, we're trying to get ease back into a little bit closer to normal. We did have hand sanitizer, plexiglass, masks were optional for poll workers this time around, and we did have folks actually sign the poll book. We didn't run into any issues. It seemed to go very well. I just wanted to extend a gigantic thank you to Public Works, Water and Sewer, for their help. Everybody, you know, Joe Kratz, his folks. We had a total of 26 poll workers, some of them who worked in shifts, and my deputies, Nikki and Matthew, were wonderful, and we really wanted to thank everyone. We couldn't have done it without you. The election tally report is submitted as a separate agenda item for approval later. We also did assist with the bid opening, and then we've been really busy with alcohol renewals. We'll see those on tonight and tomorrow nights for alcohol licensing, and then following that we have bartender licenses. So it's just been a really, really busy time for us. And then just wanted to talk a little bit about the board of review. Once the committee is established at the reorganization tomorrow, we will need to schedule training for that. We do have a requirement, the statute, at least one member has to be trained every year now. I think it used to be every couple of years, so we'll get that scheduled. That's pretty much it for now. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Molly, you want to give us the treasurer's report, please?
We do. Good evening. So I have first the March 31st, 2022 cash and investments report for approval. If anyone has any questions on that. We are starting to get some better CD rates, which is nice to see.
Motion to approve the cash and investments report.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve the cash investments report. Or is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, then included in the packet is the February 2022 revenue and expenditures in comparison to budget. Also from our office, we concluded the audit field work. It was about 2 weeks, pretty intense, but I haven't heard from them since they wrapped. So I would expect within the next couple of weeks we'll start getting, you know, a few follow-up review type questions, and then hopefully have our adjusting entries and have a report to you. I'm not sure if we'll quite have it at the May meeting, but that would be great if we could. Just finished up with the April tax settlement, so that has been, those payments are off to the county and the school districts. The CDBG, some of you may know that Rachel is out for an extended time, and those programs have been moved to my office. We are working on getting the state rehab loan fund closed out and moved to the regional program, the Coolie Cap, that was approved here last month. Rachel did not have time to complete that application before she had to be out. So that is on my list to do. So I guess any CDBG related items will be coming to me from here on out. We've been doing a lot getting ready for the emergency services in anticipation of perhaps a pass tonight. We are preparing for a bonding, so that everything lines up in the event that we move forward. We will, if it's passed tonight, there would be required a special meeting next Monday night to set the bond sale. We've worked with our municipal advisors and kind of backed into this date based on when they could facilitate the first available sale. And so we're really hoping that, again, if this process continues to move forward, that we would be able to set that meeting for next Monday. Time to be determined. I would look for input from anyone, but Joe has moved his Park and Rec meeting so that night is kind of open on our end. Our municipal advisor said the earlier the better, but again, what works for you guys is what we'll go with. And then our first round of ARPA reporting is due at the end of this month. So far, our first battle is getting into the system. When we applied for the funds, it was Brad on the account, and so that's our first hurdle, but we will be getting that done. Yeah, and that's, I guess if anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Was there anything on the budget comparisons that jumped out that you think would be important to look at?
Nothing real significant. Some of our revenue items are actually up, which was good to see. I think some of that comes from, we had a lot of pet licensing this year. I think we had more people license their pet this year than came out last year to do it. And I think a lot of this, building permits and things are going because people are out and about. We had a couple of nice days where we just had people lined up at the window just taking care of their city business. It's just, people are back at it. So that was what jumped out at me. Expense side, I didn't see anything that jumped out that was real extraordinary. But
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
Joe, you want to do public works, Park and Recs, please?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Quick update for the Parks and Rec. The Parks Department's busy trying to deal with the weather, different situations. We have not opened our park bathrooms yet. We'll hopefully get that when the weather turns for us. May 1st is kind of our time. We like to get the bathrooms open. Just bear with us with that. We assisted with removal of holiday lights, working with Kim Mello on our goose management. The weather hasn't been too cooperative with that either. We don't have a lot of boats on the lake with the weather, so but just special thanks for Kim Mello and doing a great job with that. Working on painting youth soccer fields and so forth for our parks. Our recreation programs, finishing up our winter activities. We have gymnastics going on currently, over 300 participants, and summer sign-up programs will begin on May 9th. Aquatic Center, if you've been down there, we had quite the hole dug up by the vault area. So far it looks like we're heading in the right direction. We're doing some vessel testing, and then in a couple of weeks we'll try to get the pumps up and running to make sure things are working. Then the next chapter will be finding staff to operate the facility too. We've been contacting last year's staff, but that's always a concern too, is just make sure we have enough lifeguards and so forth. So it'll be fast and furious in the month of May to get the aquatic center going. But so far, good news. Knock on wood that it continues in the right direction for the pool. Recreation park, you can see there the different activities coming up. We got a busy month of May. Into April here, the high school regional rodeo will be the last weekend of April coming up, and we got to get things turned over for that, to get the water turned on and so forth, but we have not with that. Later this week, early next week, we'll try to get things open at Rec Park for the water and that big program. Friday, April 29th will be Arbor Day at Winnebago Park at 4 o'clock. The mayor will be there. Mr. Ewers in the Science Club will be there, so 4 o'clock if anybody's available at Winnebago Park We lost, in the past few years, over 38 ash trees at Winnebago Park, so we want to try to get some more trees in that park. And we'll also be removing some pines during our construction at new boat launch and parking. So hopefully that will start here in the next couple of weeks too, just as the weather hasn't been cooperative with that. So other than that, any questions or concerns? Rec Park, we're getting the damaged fence repaired. All the other stuff should be done before the rodeo for that. So
When was Arbor Day?
April 29th, Friday. A week from this
4
Friday.
o'clock.
4 o'clock, Winnebago. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Public Works, Kurt.
Good evening. We did get our concrete and asphalt piles ground up by Gerke's. We did do a split on that. They ground it for free and they took half and we kept half. So it was one of our budgetary items that we came up with last year for a cut. The brush pile, we were intending to burn that, but it didn't work out. But we do have some other avenues that we're going to investigate here coming up. So when we get some more information, we'll try to keep you posted on that. Street sweeper's been out at least one time throughout the city, and they're out again today. Hopefully they're not sweeping up snow tomorrow. We did inspect our street lights. It's been about 3 years since those have been installed. We did find some condensation in some of the fixtures. We're returning those for warranty items. I found a couple of nuts on the base that were loose, so it was good just housekeeping to get those taken care of. They do have a 5-year warranty, so that's kind of why we did that preemptive check on those. Also, we had a request, for some reason, I think when we did the street lights, we failed to put up the lighting on the flag on the boulevard, so we did get 2 lights for that to be lit up in the evening. The treasurer's window, I don't know if you noticed that on your way up, that portion is completed, and they're now moving on to the clerk's window, and that'll be the next kind of upgrade down at the lower level. Sewer department, we had a Sable Mechanical come in and do some repairs to our drain valves and oxidation ditch. We did some intergovernmental activities with the landfill, went up there and helped them open up a plug pipe that they had with our rotter. And we are done with Fort McCoy, the extra septage that we've been receiving from them. It turned out very well. We took about 500,000 gallons from them. And the other housekeeping sewer plant, we do have Wolf Concrete doing some tuck pointing on one of the buildings out there. Water department, want to make note that we started our semi-annual flushing program, and that started last Thursday, and that'll run for approximately a month. We started on the south end of town and we work our way north. So a word of caution, it's suggested that you run your cold water taps just in case there might be some sediment or colored water that got stirred up in the line. So if you see us out in your area, try to run your cold water lines for a little bit just to make sure we don't get any discoloration in your clothes or drinking water. And the Lake Committee, the next meeting is scheduled for May 19th, unless I have it wrong, Mine, is that right? I think that is right. I always look at you because you're always on top. Other than that, if you have any questions?
Is the lake committee at 5 o'clock?
Yes.
In this.
Yeah, we've been having it up here via Zoom also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you. Police report, please.
Good evening, everybody. Told you guys before that we have someone that's going to be retiring. He is. I have his resignation letter. We have a hiring process that's open right now. We're taking applications till the 22nd of this month. It's been open for about 4 weeks now. We have a total of 4 applications. Hopefully we get a couple more by Friday. The hiring process will take place on Saturday, April 30th. We do it at the high school. It's a one-day process, ends with our command staff interviews, and then the Police and Fire Commission will meet on May 3rd. They will do their interviews. After that, if we can identify a candidate, we will start doing background investigation, conditional offer of employment, etc. While I'm on the subject of hiring, I've stated before that there's many agencies that are hiring police officers all over the state, 80 plus agencies. Tough to find police officers, so what agencies are doing now is they're poaching veteran cops from area agencies. So last week I found out, late last week, that Sparta Police Department is offering $8,000 to $10,000 sign-on bonuses for new cops that come there. So what they're doing is they're poaching or want to poach from area organizations. So that's what we're up against. I haven't quite put my mind around how I want to approach that. I need to speak with my command staff, my set team, and see if there's something that we can do to keep our people here instead of them going down the road somewhere else. It's almost impossible to find good police officers, and we have a building full of them, and we need to find a way to retain them. So I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. That's what we're dealing with, and it's just going to get worse and worse as we go forward. And again, finding replacements is difficult.
Chief,
Yes, ma'am.
is that something that you're gonna put in place right away?
Sparta?
For the bonus?
Sparta, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For our
Well,
department.
I haven't quite figured out how I want to approach you folks with this. And what I mean is if we're giving someone that's just walking in the door $8,000 to $10,000, and I'm already in the door and I've been here for 5 years, what about me, is what I'm thinking, right? So I don't know. There's departments that are given retaining bonuses. There's departments that are doing recruiting bonuses. So if you know someone in law enforcement that you can bring in. So it's all tied to dollars and cents. You hope that people don't want to leave. You know, we can create a culture in our department, and we have a great one, where people don't want to go, but $8,000 to $10,000 is $8,000 to $10,000, you know? So, I don't know. Sparta's doing it where when you come in the door, it's $2,000. When you pass field training, it's $2,000. When you make probation, which is a 1-year probation, that's $2,000. And then the last $2,000 to $4,000 is tied into your employment contracts. So I think it's a 5-year contract that you'll get your remaining money, all right? When you look at the big picture on this, it sounds like a lot of money, but you don't have extra cops. So if we have a cop on vacation, sick leave, whatever, we fill that shift. We have to. Public safety is too important. So we don't operate with less personnel if you bring other people in. And when you start compounding what it costs in overtime, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 is actually a cost savings to the city. Okay, so again, I found out about this last week. There's some people I got to talk to. I got to figure out a game plan, and then we'll discuss that moving forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick question.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you have any long-term contracts with any of our officers now?
When they're employed, they come with a 3-year contract. So, but what's going to happen is they're going to be bought out of it. So what happens is it's a 3-year contract and it's on a month tier. So there's a certain cost to bring officers in, and then there's an enormous amount of training. So it peaks at 12 months. I think it's 12 months. Yes, 12 months it's $7,200. And then the longer you stay, it goes down. At the end of your 36th month, it goes down to 0. But again, it's just as easy for the new employer to say, that's fine, come with us, and here's $5,000, and they'll pay out the city of Tomah. Because it's a cost-saving measure for them. You know what I mean? But yes, we do have one. Have had for years. It's been challenged one time, and it was found valid through Monroe County Circuit Court. Anything else on that I can answer?
So is there anybody that's retired that would be interested in coming back?
No. Once you retire from law enforcement, you don't come back. You get to a point, unfortunately, you get to a point, and for me it's going to be very soon, when you have your pension out here. If I stay too long, I'm going to be losing money working. So that's why you lose your cops at 53, 54, 55, because you go do something else and you double up. Everyone's shaking their heads and know about pensions. So as much as you love the job, you're foolish to stay. you take your pension and then you go work another 10 years wherever. So, yeah, no. That's the answer.
Where does our wage scale compare as far, are they the same? Or
Sparta's is different. Ours is, we're just talking union patrol officers, okay? We bring them in at higher and they get a raise at second, third, fourth, and fifth year. Theirs goes 0 to 6 months, 6 months to 12 months. Once you get into year 2, they make more and it progresses out to, they make about $1.20 an hour more than our officers do. And Monroe County, I think you guys are aware of that, it's not just the sheriff's office, but they passed a significant increase for all county employees. I think it's 2.1 million of ARPA money. So that includes the sheriff's office. So that's what's out there. Anything else? Okay. Squad cars. So we ordered 2 squad cars. We have one of them in. What we don't have are the radios for them. We ordered those as well, and the best guess is late fall. Everything is COVID. You can't get stuff. So, for lack of a better term, we're kind of cannibalizing one of our other cars, and we're going to get this one ready to go. So our marked units, our patrol staff have marked units, so they can get on the road. LED crosswalk signals have been ordered. I don't think there's a delay on those, so they will, when they come in, I'll get with Kirk and their representative from TAPCO will come down and help us install at least the first one, and just kind of so we know what we're doing there. And finally, the digital map for our designated sex offender residency restriction ordinance, that's a mouthful, is done. So I have a digital link for this, and what we're going to do is once we get up and running on our new website, I'll have a link to that, also a link of our ordinance, so everybody can that and see if anyone moving to the city that would be pertinent to. Any questions at all for me? Okay, thank you.
Might as well stay put.
Yeah, Chief.
We got your resolution
Oh, we're gonna do that, sorry. Okay.
to hire an additional temporary staff.
Yes. So it's about timing. I don't know how much you guys want me to talk on this, but the graduating class right now, most of the people out there, or a good portion, are what's called sponsored, so they're being paid by another agency to be there. There's some that don't have jobs. The good ones will get hired almost immediately. If we wait until the retirement, they're going to be gone. Again, everybody's hiring. If we, again, wait to the retirement, we have to, if we find someone that we want to sponsor, the new academy starts June 8th. So if we wait until Officer Hunick retires, we're losing on both ends. We're going to have an opening for a long time.
Second.
Okay.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the temporary hiring. Any further discussion?
Well, I just have a question. I thought we just talked about 6 candidates possibly. What does this have to do with the 6 candidates that we may already have?
This is temporarily increased. Right now I have 22 sworn officers. Okay, we're looking to temporarily increase that until someone retires. Because if we wait until this person retires, we're going to lose out on the people going to the academy right now that are graduating in June, and we're going to lose out on the opportunity to hire someone and sponsor them through the academy. This is just
We're already short one that we're trying to fill.
right now I'm 100% full staff.
Well, what were we talking about going in front of the Police and Fire Commission? We have 4 and we hope to have 6, and
That's to establish a waiting list.
4 and 6.
you were just talking.
Right now I have an open process to fill this position I'm talking about. Okay,
Okay,
and I got 4 applications.
okay.
I don't know.
So why won't that fill it? Why do we need to do this?
It may fill it. It may. What I'm trying to,
This is, the process of interviewing is to fill this
yeah,
position.
That
He's
we're
talking
creating now.
While they're still in the academy, correct?
yeah, there's an academy class graduating right now. They graduate early June, okay?
I think, if I may, I think you're thinking he's looking at hiring 2 people. You're only looking at hiring 1, correct?
There's 1, yeah.
And it's only until
Yeah,
July 24th that Pete retired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the position count would drop down,
So it'll be for like a month or maybe 2.
month and a half, yeah.
So we're,
Instead of waiting until July 24th to hire someone, we're gonna hire them before.
Right.
You
So we
would
can-
hire, so that we got them on.
okay.
Just to replace.
Did I confuse you with the Sparta money?
No, you
Okay.
confused me with that we already have an open process going on that
Yes.
has 4 people in it right now.
Right.
But those 4 people are going to fill this new position if we create it.
If
It will
we're,
just accelerate
if we're
that process.
lucky, we will find a candidate right now to hire, and we won't lose any current veteran officers to other agencies trying to place them. If we're lucky.
What, I mean, we hope that, I mean, we can't play the game.
Right.
We can't hire 2, 3, 4 because we think we might lose 2,
Not
3, 4.
No, but
asking
we
to
can
do
hire
it,
one,
not
because
asking
we
to
know
do
we're
it.
losing one July 24th.
But I'm just saying, we're
It's creating a temporary.
replacing Mr. Hunek.
Yes,
So that's just a process, that's,
right.
But we're replacing, we're putting his replacement on early, before Pete retires.
we want to put it on early.
Yes, sir.
That's what this-
That's what this piece of it
Yes.
is.
lose out on one
Yes.
candidates.
Yes.
I'm still confused at why our regular hiring process, since we have 4 candidates, isn't going to work for
We have to
Mr. Hunek.
create the
Well-
temporary position that he can fill.
The 4 might not wanna wait until July 24th.
Someone else is going to hire.
If we
Okay,
don't
we're just
pay-
we're just hedging our bet, okay.
If we wait,
Interesting
Lamont,
concept.
if we wait, the ones that are available in the academy that are graduating in June will get hired up somewhere. Okay? If we find, through this process, if we find a candidate that we need, that needs the academy starts June 8th. Okay?
Okay, the people, of the 4 people, they're not all officers already. They may have,
Nope.
they could be,
Nope.
okay, I got it now. You
Okay,
don't have to explain it.
okay.
I got it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Do you mind if, just for a minute, we have, I just want to share people with what I learned. I got to see, through the experience of this last trial that I was involved in, my nephew that got killed. It was an eye-opening experience. So, when you call 911, you see people leave. But I got to see the body camera, like officers, they come to the scene and they immediately began CPR, you know? They got to see the evidence that was horrific. The worst the medical examiner ever saw in his entire career. So, the worst that the ER doctor ever saw in their career so far. So they got to see all that. So the police see all that, and then all you hear is bad stuff in the news about the police. So our police officers went and rendered his aid. Oh, and then the other thing, before that happened, police officers came first, they started rendering first aid. The ambulance crew came. So the police officers didn't say, okay, the ambulance is here, it's time to stop. They continued helping. Then they worked together as a team. Who drove the ambulance to the hospital? The police officer. Guess it happens all the time. That's what I heard in testimony. It's because they all worked together to give them the best chance they could, you know? So then, on top of that, all that stuff happened. Then you have a police officer that has to ride because the defendant at the time, who they found guilty, thank God, had to go get some medical attention, so he had to ride in the ambulance. So we got to watch a whole bunch of evidence from his body camera of nothing but the utmost respect to a guy that just did the most horrible things that a person could ever imagine. So he literally they adjusted his pillow for him, gave him the remote for the TV because he went to another hospital somewhere else. All this happened. So whatever we do for our hiring process, whatever like you have created is a huge asset for Tomah. Unbelievable. Above and beyond. People don't hear about the good stuff. That was good, really good. And the ambulance was, they did everything they could, everybody did everything so professionally. It was absolutely unbelievable. And I really like the idea, because I've heard people, I know we're gonna talk later about it, about like the fire station and the ambulance. People like to think sometimes you have an ambulance here and the fire station here. When you call 911, it's not a separate number for an ambulance. It's not a separate number for the fire station. It's not a separate number for the police. It gets the ball rolling on a team from the county dispatcher who testified on exactly what happened and got the ball rolling. All the way through the whole process. It was unbelievable. It was education I wish I never had, but I'm grateful that I learned about it. So I feel obligated, and so I had to share it tonight, is because hats off to all the professionals that did such a good job. Unbelievable. So I like the idea of being together, because when they work together, then they know more how they can help each other, how they can work together as a team and accomplish. And we're all not young. I mean, I'm older than Mitch and stuff, but I mean, someday, God forbid, we may be the one that someone's calling 911 for us or something. And we are darn lucky that we live in Tomah. We really are, for what we have. I was so impressed. So, thank you for your entire department, all of them. It was unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm gonna move item 15 up ahead, so Mr. Ellis can get out of here at a reasonable hour.
So, just want to explain the agenda item. So we have in there approval, emergency service building bid package, and then we also have the financial discussion associated with that. So we want to have Kelly talk about the bid package, kind of where we're at today, and then more than likely Molly will jump in and try to give you all the information as far as a financial aspect and how it would impact the organization, and then we'll field your questions from there.
Good evening, everybody. I think before the meeting, Becky handed out the breakdown of the bids. You all have that? Okay. So we took all the bids April 7th, and Becky opened all the bids. Just a brief how that was done. We broke the project down into 29 divisions of work. Prior to the bids, we have software. We got the word out to 450 contractors. The La Crosse Builders Exchange, Eau Claire Builders Exchange, Fox Valley, and also a company called the Daily Reporter that a lot of construction people follow. So the bid, this is the bid recap, and since the meeting, I took all the bids back and I reviewed all the bids with all the contractors. So all the names of the bidders you see here tonight, those are the ones that I'm recommending as the lowest responsible bidder. There were only 2 bid units that we did not receive bids in, and that is not real unusual. It happens, no matter how much arm twisting we do to ask people to bid. They just don't do it for some reason. They don't like getting the bid bond or whatever. So, but on this case, we only had 2, and one of them was the chain link fence, the small portion of the project here. So we put an allowance in here of $10,000 to cover that work. So that's in the number of the total project. The other one is the commercial appliances. We did not get a bid on that unit. Tim did some research before of talking to some people, and we got an idea roughly what that's going to cost, but the appliance part, Tim is going to handle that later on. If you look on so last Tuesday, I got a call from the senior executive team, kind of a somber call, telling me that we need to cut some cost here, or this project will probably not move forward. So what do? We went into value engineering mode. When I start talking to all these contracts, I ask them, is there anything that you can see that we could cut out of here that may be excessive or things like that? So they came up with some ideas. But first off, we had a voluntary alternate for epoxy floor. It's a nice feature to have, but Tim told us prior to bidding to put it as an alternate in case we can't afford it. If we can't, take it out. So that was the first thing he said, that's gone. Maybe it can be done at a later date. The first item on the list then is asphalt paving 6 inches to 5 inches. So we took soil reports, and the soil report said if we had a, if the fire chief would buy a single axle ladder truck in 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, that soil would not probably hold that. But if you purchased a dual axle fire truck, it's no problem, 5 inches. So we were able to take $41,000 out of the asphalt bid, and we're confident that the truck he buys is gonna hold up. Second thing is remove the landscaping from the project and have the city take that. So that was $72,000 out of the project. Masonry insulation of $24,900. There was a dual, 2 people had it in their bid. The insulating contractor had it, and as well as the mason contractor. This next item is a big ticket item, $83,500. That was for in-floor heat in the apparatus bay, and we had it in some aprons on the outside to keep snow and ice from building up on the concrete aprons. But rather than in-floor heat, proposing the HVAC contractor says to use water boiler piping that would work just as good. So the only thing with that, the in-floor heat is a nice option. It's a great feature. Some of the projects I do have them, some don't. It's more upfront cost. So that was one that we felt maybe we have to take out of it right now. And so that would have been $83,500.
Water boiler now?
Water boilers.
So we'll still have in for heat.
You're still gonna have in-floor heat in the office area, but not in the apparatus bay. The next thing is flagpoles. Sometimes the flagpoles can't afford to do them right away. You do them later. Same thing with the sign. It's a reader board. That's a big ticket item, $43,000. A lot of the projects, they don't do it right away. They do it a couple of years down the road if you can't afford it right away. And then this last one was on the side facing the road. We had 4 vision panels in the overhead garage doors. You can see the trucks, it's nice. It's just the way we were looking for costs. We were kind of desperate for cost, so they offered a $20,000 credit if we only put 2 vision panels through the out. If I had the money, if you ask me, I would like to keep that feature in there. You know, this is a beautiful building. It's not a Taj Mahal by any means, but that's a nice feature and a long apparatus bay that would look very nice. So a total of $303,000 voluntary alternates. You'll see that as the value engineering on the bottom. So the total project cost is $13,492, the way it sits today. I did a thorough review. I just abhor change orders. I sat on your side of the table my first 10 years of my career. Sometimes contractors come in, they lowball the bid, and they nail you at the end. It's not gonna happen here. I can pledge to all of you that the only change orders you're gonna see here is if you ask for the change orders now. Not many people will say that. That's our policy, that's the way we do it. If they come up to us and ask for change orders, we'll deal with it. You won't see any of the costs for that. So I want you to rest. The chief told me, Mayor, that was kind of a stickling spot for you, and that's what we offer. So we'll take care of it.
Question, is that gonna be anywhere in the contract?
I can write it into the contract. I can tell you all right now. It's like, don't approve the change order. If I bring something forward and you didn't ask for it, don't approve it.
Usually, it should be in the contract, though.
Well, we can ask for changes if we want.
Just a question.
We won't need any change orders.
I was on the county when they did the courthouse, and there was 1,000,000 change orders, and every one of them costs thousands.
It's a problem, but
From 25 million to 50 million.
There won't be any unless you ask for it. You all heard me say it, unrecorded. Any other questions? The only thing I will recap, I like the group of the contractors that we have. It's good. Some are local. We got a Tomah contractor that's doing the drywall, the plastering, and the studs. A lot of these other people are not too far away, so I feel good about the group. And I put them through, the reason I can say no change orders, because I said that. If I'm gonna sign a contract with you, you are not getting a change order unless the owners ask for it. They're all agreed. I got that all documented. So,
I do have a couple of questions,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
no, absolutely.
One of the things that, and it says in here about the appliances, you've got, $16,000 for appliances in the contract, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yes, that was the
Is
bid.
that gonna include everything inside the building?
Those are just the residential appliances. The commercial, the kitchen area are commercial appliances. And Tim said he was gonna raise some money or do something to accomplish that.
So you're gonna take that over, Tim, somehow?
We are going to take that over. I talked to my group during our annual fundraising events. We have the funds to cover the cost of that. You know, we may do it over a period of 2 years or whatnot, but we will cover those funds.
And that includes all the appliances and
In-
beds and,
No.
No?
This is the commercial appliances in the kitchen. All the residential stuff
Is in the bid.
is already in the bid.
okay.
What does that include? What is residential?
Like each shift has, on the ambulance side, they each have a refrigerator for A, B, and C shift. So there's a kitchenette in there, so there would be a stove and a refrigerator and a microwave and those type of appliances.
TVs in the bunk rooms.
And that's the part you're gonna take care of?
No,
Right.
that's in the bid.
Residential 60.
Yep, we're gonna take care of the commercial kitchen items, a flat griddle, a 6-burner oven, stove, fryer, those type of things. Once again, we may add some of that stuff down the road. It's all plumbed, it's all wired for it. There's just not a lot of vendors out there that bid and install. There's vendors out there that will bid the appliances only, but they didn't wanna install, so they just declined to do it. So, I got enough plumbers, heating, electrical guys that we can buy the stuff and we can install it and at a huge cost savings. Likewise with the, and I don't wanna get off track, but with the landscaping part of it, you know, with the help of Kirk and his crew in Parks and Rec, and I got 37 members ready to grab a shovel and plant trees and do whatever we need to do, we can save $73,000 by doing some of this ourselves, so.
I have a question, I can't commit to it like on tape here, but the doors, you're gonna go to 2-panel vision instead of, is it like 4 or 5-panel? 4-panel vision?
That's just an option.
Can you just do me a favor and find out, I don't know who the door supplier is or where they're coming from, if the glass was supplied, to see how that would change the price, to go with the 4-panel.
I can ask him.
I just need the sizes and the quantities.
With that, I don't know if Kelly wants to say it or John wants to say it, but in the glass bid, we had a huge donation by Cardinal Glass. They are donating all the glass for this building.
So how much are we talking about?
All the glass that's around the outside of the living quarters or the administrative side. I don't know exactly how you'd put a dollar figure on it at this point, you know,
It was,
$50,000, $60,000.
yeah, but we just know that it has to be Cardinal Glass, and I'm living right in my own hometown. So we're gonna do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and they submitted the bid to Lacrosse Glass.
So we don't install glass, and we don't do that, and we don't make the frames for it, so just the glass portion, we're donating with glass, so.
Yes.
Question for you, are you planning on hiring any of our local contractors here to do any of the work?
Yes, so Americon is the Tomah contractor. They are doing the carpentry, building insulation, and metal studs.
I'm sorry, who was it?
American
All American.
Construction.
Okay.
Site work.
Yeah, well, it's site work, I'm sorry, Gerke's doing the site work. Matthew is not too far away doing asphalt. Actually, you know, so
Didn't you say the drywall or something, or?
the drywall is also American.
Oh,
Just on state statutes, you can't hire just on the sole reason that they're local. You can't do that. The only place in the state of Wisconsin is you can do that is Milwaukee. Somehow they got an ordinance that they don't have to take the low bidder. But these are the low bidders.
How many other bids did we have?
We had, so, it took us 2 hours, Becky, right, to open all the envelopes. I wish,
Being
Pardon me?
file was like that.
Do we have a report that shows all the bids on different things?
I do have that with me, if I can hand that out.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
I think on the bigger ones were like the HVAC, the electric, those really high dollars, the masonry, that there were at least 3 to 4 bids in that division. So it
And
was
how far did they vary? That was, you can see that here.
It's virtually double from the high to the low at some of them.
I'll just let you pass them around. Thank you.
So on the signage, that 69,000, is that 43,000 out of reader board coming out of that 69,000 then? Is that same company on the signage?
Yes,
So what is, I guess, another $20,000?
interior signage, every one of the doors, bathrooms, directional signage.
Signage on the tower.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a big part of it, Tim, thank you. The outside exterior signage on the tower.
I don't know, I think it'd be, we should spend the $20,000 on glass, even if Cardinal can't do anything. I think it's wise just to spend the $20,000.
I should tell you that, so we do have a contingency of $240,000, but if that 240, about 100 is going for the generator for that. We are anticipating some bad soils. Gerke had in their bid $90,000 of bad
Can you
soils.
pass those, Molly, please?
Oh,
They're all the same.
So they say that's conservative, so we're gonna take that out of their bid and just pay it as it's encountered. So worst case scenario, let's say we had $90,000 of bad soils, buying a generator, you have still $50,000 of contingency at a minimum.
So if you were to look at this,
And I think at this point in time, I'm gonna interject. So if we can take this, I know we wanna look at the bids, and we wanna see who bid what, but rather than focusing on this right now,
Yeah.
we need to focus on what they're talking about, because they're gonna go over things and we're gonna ask the same questions. Because this is stuff we can look at in our own.
Okay.
so I guess what it boils down to, and Molly will go over this a little bit later, but we're looking at the 13.5 all-in number, okay? What we intend to do is to do continue the value engineering beyond this, you know, if and when you accept this. So we'll continue that process. And then you talked about the $90,000 for bad soils. That's gonna be the first thing that happens on that project. So we're gonna know where we're at. So if we only spend 40 on that, then we have another 50 to hopefully massage and maybe take into account some of those other items that we've pulled out, just to make sure that we can move ahead with this project and get the bonding. But there's gonna be opportunities along the way to capitalize on either value engineering or return some of these items that we're thinking about taking out.
Is it going to become apparent, Director Arity, of why we have to make these cuts when we start talking about the financing?
Absolutely.
Because we got a cart before a horse.
It is, and it's a dance, and we didn't really know how to do it exactly, but we
We have
kind
to
of,
start somewhere, but
Yeah.
it will become apparent why we needed this $300,000-$500,000 cut.
I believe so,
Okay.
yep. And that's why, you know, we have to start with somebody, we have, you know, start with Kelly, and hopefully, you get the gist We probably didn't have the most, like he said, the best conversation after the bids came in, but I think it's apparent that what Kelly has done from that time to now has really added the value to this project, and hopefully, you know, kind of gets us going in the right direction.
Kelly, do you foresee this building being any less than the 13 million?
Any less than it?
Yeah.
No, these are the bids, this is what it's gonna take.
Okay, good.
Might be, like Kirk said, maybe a few little things here and there. You cut any more, you're gonna start affecting the aesthetics of the building, or
I'm not
the
talking so
maintenance.
much about cost, I'm more looking at, you know, something that costs 50 and you come into realizing it may cost 40,000.
No, these are
Those are
hard,
the
these
bids.
are hard bids. This is
Okay.
what it is.
Okay.
And we're locked in on any price increases, any materials, and
If we act real soon, some of the people that I've talked to said, if I don't get a contract with them in a week, they're pulling their bid. Even though we have in the contract language, the specifications, that the bid's good for 60 days. I don't know.
That's just not the environment that we're in these days, and that is boilerplate language, but you need to really work with these contractors if you're going to get something done. That's what we're finding.
Yes.
And they're
absolutely.
they're scheduling their time to be here to do this, and they're turning other jobs down, so.
I think part of it that we have to look at is the supply chain issues, again, you've all heard me, you know, I can only speak of what I know. I can tell you in the food industry, in the month of January, I bought a case of eggs, 15 dozen eggs for $14.50 some odd cents. In the first week of March, it was $28 and some odd cents, and last week I went to order that same case and it's $44. So this is where, you know, when he said, people are starting to say, you know, sign the contracts, otherwise, you just, I mean, who knows when what the next item's gonna be that's gonna jump
By the
through the
week
roof.
now, not by the month or the year.
Yeah, it does, yeah, it's not,
I'll attest to that. That's all my job is I deal with the construction industry. And it's by the week, by the day, it's literally insane. And like when you say scheduling time to do something, I mean, I have customers that are booked out 40 weeks plus. You order something brand new, Windows right now, sometimes 40 weeks before you can see them. So it's just crazy, and then people are so afraid that they have to give you a price on something now. And they're looking way out into 40 weeks from now, how much is it gonna cost to fill that order? Because they don't fill the order 40 weeks and let it sit. They have such a backlog, it's never been like this ever in the past, so. it's crazy.
That's why it was a wise decision that you went ahead and placed that steel order.
Oh,
You would have spent probably $300,000 maybe in winter conditions. Steel costs have doubled in the last 15 months. So you did a great job by doing that. You took a little bit of risk because we didn't know. I told you, I felt that we'd make the 13 million. We didn't know, you know. I wish it would have been a little less, but construction costs have gone up 20% in the last year. At 500,000 over the 13 million, I think that equates to about 3.8%. Inflation's been 8.5%. So I was maybe a little relieved where they actually came in, to be honest with you.
So where does that steel play in all this?
The steel is being fabricated. It's being made. It's gonna be delivered in August.
And that's separate from this, correct?
The
From this
number
bid?
is in here.
Oh,
You can
it
see
is
the
in-
pre-engineered building, that was 1.1 million. That's included in here.
VRAs, I guess.
Any other questions of me? I know you got some
Yeah, I
things to
think-
talk about.
I think Molly will definitely fill in some gaps and give you some information that's gonna help you make this decision. We're not here to promote really one way or the other. We're trying to give you all the facts, how it's gonna affect the organization financially, and it's up to you guys to decide.
I'll start by addressing Lamont's question about why we had requested that Kelly look into the value engineering. The illustration behind me, and I didn't include it in your packets because now it becomes a little bit irrelevant, but this was what it looked like at 14.5 million, which is what we were told to plan for after the bid opening. So as you can see, if I scroll down a little bit, sorry, this is
You need longer arms.
I sure don't. So we would have hit our debt capacity. We have a policy in place that we won't exceed 75% of our debt capacity. We would have hit that right away in 2022. We would have dipped down a bit in 2023, but then we would have pushed against it in 24, 25, 26. And in 26 and 27, we didn't have anything in our capital plan at that point. So that's with buying nothing. That's with saying no more projects, no more road projects for those years until we can get our debt under control.
Which years, 26?
We hit it in 22, 23, 24. We hit it again in 26.
With no project?
I think in the end, we added minimal,
26
This is at the 14.5.
yeah, 26 we put in projects, but not,
Nothing until 26.
26 we
but 22 at 14.5.
no, so 22, 23, 24, and 25, we have a capital plan set, and you have that in front of you. That's the first
Okay.
page. Yeah, then just.
Everything's in, okay.
Everything's in. For 26, we roughed in just, $1 million for streets, trying to just come up with some numbers to fill it in. But again, with very minimal spending and just kind of regular projects, we hit it again in 26. And then in 27, which would be our first opportunity to look at any new projects that would come up within the next 5 years, we're already at 71%. So it was just really, really tight. And we just kind of looked at this and said, this doesn't work. I mean, we can't, as a city, bump up against our, again, this was my opinion. I was very uneasy with having to come to you and pass a resolution each year to exceed our debt capacity. Also, with our bonding, our bond rating is affected. That would be a question that they would ask. You have this policy in place, why are you continually exceeding it? And that would be something we'd have to explain, and then they would determine, how that factored into our rating. But I was advised that it certainly could affect our rating.
And we would be borrowing each year, like 23, 4, 5, doing some bonding. So we would be,
Yes.
raters would be looking at us all the time and saying,
Yes.
it isn't like we borrow it all now and then we didn't have to borrow any, so we don't have to worry about bumping.
Exactly. There is a bonding set for each of those years. So now I'll go to the current. Oops, and I took the. So you should all have these packets in front of you, and I do have some extras there if anyone wants them, but this is the 5-year capital plan that has been approved by council. And it shows what we have in each of the intended borrowings for each of the years. Now, 2022 is a large one, but that was part of our plan. Originally, it was split between 22 and 23, but we think that it's wise to do as much of it as we can as quickly as we can to take advantage of rates. So again, the emergency services building was originally set to be bonded for half in 22, half in 23. We think it would be in the best interest of the council that if we're moving forward with this project, we should borrow it all at this time. So, and then the projects that are in red or pink are projects that were actually done in 2021. In April of 2021, you passed a resolution to defer the financing for our 2021 projects into the 2022 bonding. So those are a part of that. Those projects are already finished. So that is page 1 and 2 of that packet.
So
Sorry.
our just want to clarify, this was approved, but then we adjusted some of the numbers up for some of the projects?
Yeah, I should say that, yeah, sorry. So some of these projects, like the county ET project, we've got bids in now. So there have been minor adjustments. The actual projects were in the capital plan, but we adjusted them to actual. I'm trying to think of others. I think the ET project was the big one. And then we did move some timing. There's a few projects or equipment that we thought we could get and we can't, so we did move those back. There was a fire truck for 1.2 million in here, and that has been removed.
So what you're saying about the fire truck is not gonna be purchased?
It is not on our 5-year capital plan any longer.
What are you gonna do with the 4-story high building?
Take baby steps, that's all we can do. We need the building first. If we bought the fire truck, we wouldn't have anywhere to put it.
Okay.
I think along with that, Chief, you do have mutual aid agreements, so correct?
That's
PA
correct.
and Fort McCoy probably have
Yep.
one. And I left holding the bag with nothing.
And we still have ladder truck.
So page 3 then just shows how each of these projects will be financed, again, in the years in which they will be financed for our total bonding. Once again, really heavy in 2022 as we're hoping to take advantage of rates and get as much of our current projects through this year.
Yep. Question for the sports complex, where does that stand?
There's $1 million in this plan to be part of a bonding that would be approved next week if this all goes forward. I know I talked to Joe today, he's hoping to have bids soon.
Oh, just some estimates, hopefully by the end of the week, so that's for the outdoor ball fields, for relocating the ball fields from Glendale to Flair Avenue, so that's kind of our allowance in there, so.
So, and that's how much we're gonna have budgeted, $1 million?
We have a million in the capital plan, there's a 500,000 in-kind donation from Gerke Excavating, 400, 500?
450. Right?
450, and then 500?
400.
400 from the sewer department.
So 1.85.
That's the budget, and then those are the different, just $1 million being financed.
For 2022,
2022, correct.
okay.
Yep.
So I have a question for you as long as,
Yeah.
on that subject. So how much are we gonna be held liable, to pay for the, county projects? Like, we have the county road, cause I know the city is gonna be paying a part of that, or a percentage of it?
Correct. We actually have a meeting scheduled for Friday, and we're going to pursue even more grant funding. We did get a $1 million grant already before this, and we've also applied for additional grant money on top of just what I told you. So there's a lot of money coming from the federal government, and we do anticipate to get hopefully another $1 million towards it. Our portion, to answer your question, our portion, we're estimating 3.5 million for our cost. That is outside of the water and sewer.
Okay.
It's roughly a $7 million project. In today's terms, with prices and everything that's going on, it's probably plus or minus 20%.
So then with the nursing home project over there being near completion, what for taxes are added on for Monroe County then? How is that going to affect us?
I don't know that we can answer what Monroe County's taxes would be. We can address what our taxes would be estimated to go up. And I think Molly would be better suited to talk.
So that's actually the next slide, or the next page in the packet. So This packet, or this page has a lot of numbers on it, but I'll kind of try to help you decipher what's important or what you might be most interested in. So all of these projections are based on a projected growth number, and they use 1.5% for us. In past years, it's been closer to 3%. Last year, it was much, much lower, but that was an extraordinary year, so they're just trying to be conservative. So as you can see in the browned out column here, it shows what the tax change is on a $100,000 property. And in 2022, that number dropped because we had that adjustment for the over levying for debt service in the past, and we just had very little growth. So in the next year, there is a $135 increase for $100,000. So there definitely is an impact. Again, we're doing a really large borrowing for the building and for other projects in anticipation. Well, partially because we're doing 2 years in one, with the 2021 projects being deferred until 2022. And then, again, we're trying to do all of the building up front so that we can take advantage of the rates. So it is a fairly large jump, but as you can see then, it levels off. We plateau there. There's not swings. They've done a good job at keeping the payments as such so that we are not seeing increase year over year. Once we have the jump back up, we'll stay there.
So, let me ask you this.
Yes.
How many projects are we looking to include in this packet for 2022?
For 2022, so it's all of the projects in the first column of pages 1 and 2. I could read them all, but I think that people would be bored by the sound of my voice, so I'll let you just peek at them.
So what's the difference between the agenda item you've got?
For the financing approval later?
Yeah.
So the items that are highlighted in pink and blue, so when you go out for bonding, and please excuse my layperson's explanation because we're all learning this as we go. But what I've been told is when we are bonding, we can only bond for one purpose. So we can't bond in the same bonding for city hall improvements and ambulance projects. So what we have to do is we have to go out and get external financing, and we're looking to do that with a short-term note through a local bank. And then we refinance, you can refinance existing debt. So then we refinance that debt in the bonding. So these are the projects that are included, but some of them are in the form of refinancing the existing debt. So what we have to, should the bid be approved, we then have to approve the short-term interim financing through a local establishment. And then next week, there would be a meeting to set a bond sale.
Okay, so, one of the things I noticed is the library stuff.
Yes.
Is that not something we can take out of the general? It's $50,000.
$50,000?
ARPA money.
So it's been in the capital plan, and that's why it stayed there. It was approved as part of the capital plan. We did have that in ARPA as well. After, again, when this plan was set, $50,000 was a reasonable bid.
Mm-hmm.
We're now thinking it would be closer to 75. And so what the plan was, it was to not adjust the capital plan, but then try to go for any excess through ARPA, to kind of serve as a buffer. So we have it listed in 2 places, but it's not a double payment. It would be, once we can obtain bids, at this point, we can't find anyone who will bid it. And so that's the first hurdle.
So will it be just there and used later, or?
Well, our plan would be to, Shane's been working really hard to get people to come in and bid it, so our plan is to get it done this year. But we don't have a solid grasp on exactly how much that will cost. So again, we left the $50,000 amount in here as part of the approved capital plan. And then if it would come in excess of that, we would put in a request for ARPA funding.
Okay.
So another question for you,
Yes.
Molly. So what are we actually able to go out and get a loan for without affecting?
Yeah, so then,
I don't know, the,
yeah, so the last page is, shows our current project. So at the 13.5 million for the building, we are butting right up against that 75%. We're at 74%. So, we're about at our max there. You may also see that in 2025, we go to 79%. There is a large TID street project that is budgeted for 2025. We've been talking with the municipal advisor. We've been looking at some alternate financing sources. There are some potential grants. And at the very worst case scenario, that project could be moved into the future. So by taking that or moving it or finding alternate sources, that drops at about 9%. So that gets us back at 70. And then going forward, it drops because that money is pulled out of there.
Well, you're projected to reach that cap in 26 or 25.
25, yes.
There's some major construction projects going on, particularly the Cardinal Glass project, which hasn't even hit the tax rolls yet in the assessment valuations, which will raise our limits and we'll probably won't break the 75,000 or 75% threshold.
And sorry, yeah, that's the other scenario, that we do obtain significant growth within the city and then that bumps that. Yeah, Cardinal saves us again. That bumps that line up and gives us a little more space there too. But again, that's our wild card, I guess I could say, is we left it in there because again, we would hope for growth or, and so that we wouldn't be butting up against that 75, but in the case that we are, there are opportunities for alternates.
I think to answer your question, we're at that right now with that graph. And we have opportunities, as Molly mentioned, and Richard, we have a conservative growth number factored in here. We can manipulate that project. It's very large, it's 3.8 million, I believe, is what we have allocated. And we're not, at least I'm not, concerned about addressing that in the future. It should be fine. We have a number of options to go after.
Kurt, I have a question for you. What about your road project? I mean, if we're gonna be very limited of any future project, if we go with the entire amount of the building plus any other projects we'd like to include in the bonding,
Sure. I can address that. So if you look at the sheet, we like to do at least $1 million a year.
Yeah.
We're doing $1 million this year,
Yeah.
down by the lake. We have $250,000 every year for seal coating.
Where are you looking at?
It'd be the first page on this sheet. So you got 250 in 2022, 250 2023, and so on. And then we have $3.5 million we're spending in '24 on ET. And then right after that, we've got another $3.8 million on 2025. And then another $1 million in 2026 for to be determined projects. So if you were to take that, we're probably talking almost 9 million-ish and spreading that over the 4 years. We're all right.
The 3.5 million for ET is, you said it could be a little more if materials go up by 20%. But have you calculated any more, if we get more grants, it could actually go down too?
It could, and whatever we assess for, there's some relief there too. So I bumped that up a $500,000. It was at 3, we're now at 3.5. we really think that we're gonna get, another million at least. And on top of
Would that million be ours or the county's or split?
Split.
So,
split, it's really, it's gonna cover the increases,
right.
it's really what it's doing.
Right.
We also have, we applied for the Build America funding, and we're pretty confident we're gonna get that. It's not guaranteed, but even if we don't get any of that, I'm comfortable with the projects that are in here.
And you're
And
still
how we're
comfortable with
keeping
that
up.
3.5 even if we don't get more grants?
Yep,
And this isn't including the 3.5 that we're gonna have for ET, correct?
it's in here.
It's in there,
It's,
okay.
yep.
So Kirk, I have another question. I know we're kind of butting up to that line, and maybe between you and Mike, you can answer this. Do we have enough in there in case if we would have an emergency that would pop up down the road that is unexpected? Are we still gonna be able to, if we have to go out and bond, or if we need extra money or something in a loan, are we financially sound enough to be able to do that?
We would probably have to adjust some of the projects that are in this capital or 5-year plan.
Okay.
Primarily probably the TID, project, that's 3.8 million. So, to answer your question, we don't have a lot of room for that.
I mean, it's just something to take into consideration.
It is. I guess if you think about what, I guess, you know, if you have a catastrophic emergency, that's,
That's kind of what that 25% is built in for.
yeah. They probably would understand at that
That's what I was
point,
gonna
right?
say.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that would be catastrophic would be reimbursed through insurance, so it would be some kind of short-term financing. And if we had to approve, you know, a temporary bump above the cap, like Dean said, that's why you guys have, or as a city, there's 25% built in.
Okay.
And you've chosen the conservative growth rate, conservative, you're sort of planning for worst case.
They used conservative growth rate, they also used conservative interest rates, I think they used a 4%. We would hope to come in below that, but again, I would rather have it be conservative than to come into this and then get surprised.
What are bonds going for like today?
They did, he said he did a tax exempt, or taxable yesterday for 375. A tax exempt would be less than that. He's hoping that we would be around 3.5, but again, 3.5, but again, they're building
A year
in
ago, we'd have been
4%.
1.
Right, exactly, exactly.
less.
The tax exempt has been going for about 2.5 right now.
Yeah, I looked today, it was 2.95. They've been going up, they said about a point a week. And so again, they want to be conservative because we need to make sure it works at that high number, just in case. So we can't, the earliest we could bond is June 1st. June 1st or June 4th, first week of June, so.
So to key off of what you asked, I did meet with the PD to make sure that we had solid numbers in here for their budget going forward. Met with Joe also, and obviously those are the bigger budgets besides mine. After that, it's, you're really getting down to, hard to determine. It's probably not gonna be impactful, I guess. So I think hopefully I can say this, that staff is pretty comfortable with what we have in the 5-year plan, and I mean, what ifs, it's hard to plan for that.
Molly, what are we looking for salaries for, I mean, how are we gonna handle increases in salaries for, every year we go with the 2%, and we do the cost of living. I mean, where do we sit with that?
Well, that would be determined at budget time, and again, it would depend on our growth. I mean, our levy increase is based on the growth of the city. And so we would be looking at that point. Obviously, the steps are in place, so the steps are supposed to happen each year. And then beyond that is determined by you guys at budget time, so.
I have a question. I don't even know if it's totally appropriate to the discussion, but it's about money. Can you use, ARPA funds are used for more things now, correct?
Correct.
Is it possible that we look at maybe ARPA funds to help try and offer new contracts for existing police officers to stay where they're at if they, go for so many years, just as a tool? If they wanna sign on for another, so we don't get them taken away?
I think that's good, that's steering away.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I think in general, I would look at the ARPA funds as kind of your ace in the hole a little bit. We have $500,000 left there roughly. And I think I made mention to one of the council members before, you would use that up now and you're still borrowing at historically low interest rates. So hang on to that. I think we have a horizon till 24 to use that up, so I would recommend that. I think Molly would, but.
Yeah, again, I don't want to go off topic. The only thing I would say is that also would be best served on one-time expenditures, not things that are going to tie us into an expense level that we would need to maintain going forward. So wages are tough, but again, that could be a conversation for another day.
And I don't know if I asked this question, but I'm still trying to figure out what is the total amount that we're gonna bond, including with the EMS?
Yep. So that's
what is the total?
Page 2, it's the 18,355,196. And that's the amount of projects funded. So there will be fees and those things associated that would be presented at next week's special meetings. But that's the amount of the capital projects financed.
So would we need two motions, one to proceed with the building project and the second one on, to proceed with the
I have
funding?
a question, if I can that down.
Okay.
I'd like the mayor's point of view on all this, if you may. What do you think?
Well, I think the biggest thing is part of the reason we have the senior executive team is because they've vetted all of these things, and I'll be honest with you, when it came in at $14.5 million, I didn't get a good feeling from pretty much any of them as to whether it was feasible. At these numbers, looking at these projects, looking at the things that are laying in front of us, what we're capable of, there's not one person that I've talked to that has, knowledge of this, that's in a supervisory role, that has any concern about this. And that's pretty much puts my mind at ease. That we are able to accomplish the projects we need to accomplish, that we're able to bond for the things that we need to bond for, stay within our fiscal parameters that we've been set forth for us. It's my feeling on this is that if we keep kicking this can down the street, I don't care what kind of equipment we can purchase, I don't care what kind of life-saving appliances we have, if we don't have qualified people there to run them and man them, what's the point? I think it's needed. I think we've found a way to put it in. I think the thanks goes to a lot of people sitting in this area of
digging in and figuring out what's in the best interest of the city, how we can get this done, and continue the city's projects that need to be done, I'm all for it.
I personally think that if you have a place where people want to work more than just the hourly rate, it's like I went down and looked at where they're at now, and the ambulance and everything. If we have a nice place for them to work, we can attract good people, not just by the paycheck. You know what I mean? If I have to choose between working in a different community or Tomah, and if you're a paramedic, I think it'd be nice if they had a nice place. And then I like the idea of having the vast majority of our fire departments volunteer, give them a great place to train, give them a place to keep it, you know, like it is, you know, like where it can be. Keep it encouraging that.
Okay, the concern, and I addressed it to the mayor at one time too, my concern is not the building. I think we need a building for the fire department and the ambulance service combined. I don't agree, I mean, I agree with that 100%. We do need a better building for that. The problem that I have is, what are we going to say to the taxpayer when they are taxed for these amounts? I mean, they have concerns, and they have talked, my constituents have talked to me about this building. I've heard other people talk about the cost of this building. That's where my concerns lie the most, on the taxpayers, because they're the ones that are gonna have to pay for this. And I'm just trying to wrap myself around, you know,
Well,
how's the city gonna be, how do you explain to them, and, you know, what their concerns.
I think I have a question for Molly, following up on what you're saying.
Okay,
The projection is that roughly 675,000 of that bonding, or 6,750,000 is going to be paid by the ambulance service out of patient fees.
Yes, that's correct. That's taken into account in this calculation.
Is that taken into account in the calculation of the taxes?
Yes. In the abatements is where he puts in anything that's paid back by another revenue source.
So may I ask you where you see that at? I
Yes,
just
I'm sorry.
see it.
He's got, there's a pink column here that says capital plan debt service, then less abatements. So that's any sources other than the general fund or the debt service fund that is paying off those debt payments. I'm sorry, page 3.
Okay.
Yep. And then he gets us to the debt service levy amount. So that's only the amount of the debt service that is going to be paid for the levy. Nothing that's TID related, nothing that's ambulance related, nothing funded by another enterprise fund.
So if I could step back a second, to the point you were making, Nellie, back when I worked in the insurance business, I had a buddy of mine, we always rig each other back and forth, and we were talking on the phone one day, and he said, you know, he needed to add a car to his insurance, and, you know, I told him what the adjusted price, and he said, oh, man, he said, you know, insurance is such a racket, man, you guys just take everything from me, you know, blah, 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 and I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll go and I'll cancel all your policies today. What I want you to do is I want you to call me a week before your house starts on fire, at least a week before you're gonna get in a car accident, at least a week before any of these things are gonna happen, and then I'll get the policy going again so we make sure you're covered. He's like, well, how in the world am I supposed to know when that's gonna happen? I said, exactly. The thing we look at with the public is, again, Chief, I don't know, but Adam, you'd probably have a better idea. How long ago was it that the city became capable of showing up at somebody's house where somebody's laying on the floor having a massive heart attack, where you can now attach a piece of equipment to their chest while it does compressions for them, for you, so you could administer medications that could possibly save their life?
Probably 3 or 4 years since we purchased the Lucas devices.
So
That would be that far, so.
if 10 to 15 years ago, somebody was having a heart attack and you showed up, what were your options?
Manual CPR
Until,
until we retired, or you have some other reason to stop.
yeah. So when I take a look at that, I look at that and say, if that's my loved one, what's the value on that? What's the cost that I'm willing to spend? That if it turns out to be my loved one that needs that help, I get it. I'm a taxpayer too, you're a taxpayer, we all pay taxes in this community. But the question is that, you know, I use this in driver's ed, you know, I'll talk to kids about, well, the chances of that happening are probably 1 in a million. But you know what the problem with that equation is? There's always that one time. And when we're looking at a facility, as John said, you've been down there, you've seen where they sleep.
Oh, I've been there too, I know where they.
So
Yeah,
we take a look at, and we might have all this equipment, but eventually, people are gonna start going, wow, you know, this just isn't doable for me. So if we're looking at investing, you know, we're investing in a future, but that future isn't just about the future of the city, that could be somebody's life as the future. You know, the fact that paramedic that sticks around because what we have could be the person that saves somebody's life. And to me, I don't think the numbers are out of whack. You know, when you go to page 3, yes, you see the increase on of 135 on 100,000, but then it, you know, through growth, it starts tapering. But again, I think that 135 is a skewed number, you know, simply because we added, you know, 2 years worth of projects into one. So maybe it is $90 on a $100,000 house. So if you're gonna take a look at that, you're gonna say it's $180 over the course of for a $200,000 house. That's an extra $15 a month in a household. Yeah, I get it that it's a lot of money. But what am I comparing it to? I'm comparing that spend. That's just my,
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
Yeah, and I see your point, I'm just, again, that's just.
No, I'm with
People
you.
are concerned out there
Yep.
and how the city is gonna fund it.
I think the other
And
alternative
over
is
the
you have
next
to pay
10 years,
people.
it drops back to even.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you have to pay people a lot more money to try and stay here, and that makes your operating costs go way up, and and you don't really have anything to show for it, other than hopefully keep people, you know, and then even then, maybe they wouldn't want to stay, because, I don't know.
It's gonna make other projects in the city tight for the next 5 to 6 years. I mean, we ain't gonna have anything frivolous, we can go out and do a park or do something, we're saying add money. But this is a need, and I think we gotta do it.
And we have pretty much all the department heads, you know, in the city on board with it. You know,
It ain't gonna get any cheaper. If we'd done it 5 years ago when we started talking about it, this would've been half this. And then if we wait another 2 years, it's gonna be double this again.
And you know, I get it, I know that it is something we have to really look to do. I just want the city to be prepared when questions are, you know, asked and justify the cost of the building. And I know it's a need, I know it's something that, we've talked about this way back. You know, this is not something that was brought up 2 or 3 years ago. It's been a discussion for a very long time. So, I just want, you know, us to have that for the people that's gonna ask why we spent so much, because it's gonna be a question. it is a question out there.
And we've kicked the can about as far as we can kick it.
That's all that's all I'm saying about it. That's all I'm trying to make a point.
So a motion would be in order to either approve or
I'll make
reject.
a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
And the motion to accept the bid package of 13,492, 740, 27.
Correct.
That's where we're at right now? Okay.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now, do we have to do something as far as the interim financing? Is that later on in the schedule?
Oh, that's later on the.
We're gonna go back to 9,000?
Okay, we'll do.
Before we do, or do, I think you kind of wanna, am I right, Kelly, kind of this is gonna push him forward to solidify these contracts then? Tomorrow, okay, all right. All right.
Perfect.
Okay, Monroe County Support Services, extending hours of operation.
Okay, so for this one, we actually talked about it last month, but we didn't have it on the agenda, so we wanted to bring it up and have it as a specific agenda item. So I guess in the past, the Monroe County Sports Services at the Monroe County Fair Beer Garden on Friday, July 29th and July 30th at Rec Park normally stay open a little later instead of closing at midnight, which is or it's 11 standard for Rec Park. We're asking if the committee of the whole and the council would approve extending those hours
1 hour, I believe.
1 hour.
So,
That's just Friday and Saturday night.
Of the fair.
For the fair.
question, are they gonna serve up until 1 o'clock? Is that the plan?
I believe that, yes, I think that they would serve up until they close, right?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve the request of Monroe County Support Services. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Application of Class B fermented malt beverage license for Cantina 5 Sports Bar, Inc.
Move to approve.
Second?
Any further discussion?
What place is this?
So this is Cantina 5 Sports Bar. This is actually the new owners of where the Chill Zone was. The Chill Zone is not,
Next to the brick, yeah.
right, so they're not going to be renewing. They've sold the business to Cantina 5. So this is the license we've been holding on
To just finish out this year,
to finish out this year.
and then
And then the
they're
next-
applying again. Okay.
Correct, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, Tim?
We did not do an inspection of that facility yet, so can we put that pending that?
Yes.
Amendment
Because
to,
they've been closed.
amendment would be in order to make it contingent upon fire inspection approval.
Shannon, I'll add in there as well.
I'll amend my second to
Yep.
the motion.
I'm in agreement.
Thank you, Tim. That's
So
good
you
idea.
were the first and the second.
Do we need another vote on it?
Yeah, if you amended it.
Yeah. All those in favor of amending the motion as approved, pending fire department inspection approval?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion approved. Amendment approved. Renewal of Class A liquor license and Class A fermented malt beverage, Class A liquor beverage licenses, Class B liquor and Class B fermented malt beverage licenses, Class B fermented malt beverage licenses, and Class C wine beverage licenses.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Abstain.
carried. request to reduce building fee permits for Boys and Girls Club. So that,
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a question. So is the current fee 2270 and they want to reduce it lower than that? Or is it reducing it to 2270?
It's going to zero.
Just,
Shane, they wanna go from the 2270 to 0, correct?
it just says that in the council's description.
Doesn't say.
Do we have any precedent of this in the past for communicable organizations lowering the fees? Do we wanna make one?
Is it?
I just didn't know we did this, I guess is my 2 cents.
Me either.
And Shane's not here today. I'm assuming he'll be here tomorrow to talk more to that, because he would know more about the past practices with the building permits.
So just,
They're just asking us, the city, to kick that much into their renovation of this building site.
You don't have to do this,
No.
obviously.
I would like to see Shane.
Yeah, I would like to
Yeah.
get more
I like to
More
just,
discussion on this.
so,
Can I
postpone.
resend my,
Do you want
My
to
second.
amend it to a postponement?
Yeah.
yes,
Did someone second that?
I don't know.
I did. And I'm in agreement.
So we have, who's,
Nellie and Sean.
motion is to
postpone,
postpone until tomorrow evening, action on this issue.
yes.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ordinance amending section 2-2 of the City of Tomah Municipal Code, first reading, second reading, and adoption.
okay, so this particular ordinance change is for the amount of wards that we have. Unfortunately, after we redistrict this last year, instead of using our lines to draw the state congressional assembly lines, the state had a really hard time coming to an agreement on a map between the parties. And so what they did was eventually use Governor Evers' map, which was proposed as the less amount of changes from one year to the next. Then that went to the Supreme Court because the Republican Party believed that it was not a fair map, and so it was repealed. So, right now, they did not repeal the congressional part of the map though, and so based on the congressional lines, we need to actually, because they drew the lines right through the city of Tomah, if it goes through an existing ward, it has to be made into 2 wards. We can't have one ward that's been split by a congressional line. So I worked with Jeremiah at GRS in Monroe County GIS, and he has redrawn the lines for us so that they're consistent with measuring up against the congressional lines that are still in play. Right now, as I think 2 days ago, they did finally approve the assembly lines, but I'm not entirely sure, I haven't seen those maps yet. That should not affect the city. I think we're all in one assembly right now, at least that I know of.
Right now.
Yeah, it's been,
Do we need to
a
do
little
this,
frustrating.
this tonight or this month, or can we postpone this till there's something more in concrete, that we ain't doing it 6 times?
No, we were told actually that this should have been approved by April 10th, but it just wasn't feasible with the election, and we didn't know what the lines were.
Right, we still don't know for sure.
Right, and we are by statute supposed to adopt it, and if you have an issue with it, we would just have to pay the consequences of whatever that might be. I don't know what that is, not doing what you're supposed to do
I
by
was just
state
asking, I
statute,
didn't know if
but
it was, if we're under a requirement to get it done right away.
yes, we should have had it done by April 10th, because they wanted the lines all drawn in, because April 15th was the day that congressmen and assembly members could start circulating their papers, and they didn't know where their lines were.
So what warrants have been affected?
So, I have the map in here, and just want to bring it up real quick. So essentially, it's the ones that are next to, so Ward, I believe, 5, it's now 5 and 17. Ward 19 is basically the one that's kind of by itself in a little island. We have Ward 6, or actually I think 8 has been turned into 8 and 15. So basically it's a line that comes down through the center of Tomah and then comes back out.
Is this gonna affect any of our districts that
Yeah,
one of us
that's-
might not
that's
be
the
living in
one
our
I'm-
district anymore?
I'm
No.
interested in.
No, it will not, yes, and then, I mean, really, it's not, it's just gonna affect our voters so that they know, they may be in a different ward, but it's not affecting our actual aldermanic districts. So instead of having an aldermanic district that's made up of 2 wards, you may have an aldermanic district now that's made up of 3 wards. It's still the same geographical area.
Okay.
It's just now that one ward is split into 2.
Is it conceivable that we may have to split wards even further?
No, not at this time, but I guess,
I mean, when they come up with a final assembly and state maps?
I mean, I guess it's possible, they hopefully, but I can't promise anything. All I know is what we know.
At each step, it's final to us until they change it again.
Correct.
We hope this is the final.
We do.
We thought the last one was the final.
We
Next
did.
week
Could
will
get
be
another
another
one.
final. and
So
then
we
the
just
following
deal with
will
them
be-
one at a time as they come to us.
That's all we can do.
That's all we can do.
And it
Because
doesn't
it's out of our
actually
control.
affect
We have no
us.
No, it doesn't affect us on a local level at all, other than having to take these to the council and get our ordinance changed and confusing our voters on which ward they live in. I mean, that's not a desirable thing, but it is what it is.
So what do you need from us? I make a motion to approve. Do we need a motion on the first, second, and third, and do it all at once, or do we gotta do them
We're gonna do them
separately?
separately.
Well,
Just to
here,
move it forward to the council.
to move it forward to the council and recommend that they adopt it would be an appropriate motion.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Motion's
you.
made and seconded to move
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night, the ordinance amending section 2.2 of the city municipal code. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Kirk, you want to address, what's Kirk's gone? Yeah, Kirk's here. The Vanderbilt contract?
Yeah, I believe that this has been approved by the council, set, planning commission. It was just a matter of getting, I'm sorry. This has been vetted by planning commission, senior executive team, and city council. It's just a matter of getting this contract to the city attorney for her review and just looking for approval from that recommendation.
What is this contract for?
So Vandewall will be taking over MSA's role from a planning TID aspect, I guess, for the city.
So motion to approve,
I'll second.
moving forward with them.
We're just switching, people, correct?
Correct.
Are you comfortable with this new group?
Yes, and it's at
That's where it went to.
basically an hourly rate, it's not
It's
a
contract to us.
Same amount of money?
No, there's a change in the hourly rate, but they're all, we interviewed your Becker Associates also, and they're all within the same realm, they just kind of charge differently.
We have enough money in the budget to use them a little bit, but not a.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to use them a lot except for our tips and, you know, some reporting and things like that, but there'll be things that'll come up, obviously, but they're all really in the same realm. We just felt that this might be a little bit better fit for us than MSA was providing us.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the Vanderbilt contract, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Approval of interim financing of the 2022 capital projects. Molly?
Okay, so since this has been an ever-evolving process, this amount has actually changed. I can hand out. So the amount of the loan will be increasing by 197,000. And that is due to, so the EMS building, we had originally asked them to run at half of 14.5 million. And then after we determined that probably wasn't gonna work real well for us, again, we went back to Keller and they brought that down to 13.5. So that amount for the EMS building is less. And then it added, I referenced earlier, the 2021 projects that we've already completed but have not secured financing for.
That's
Those-
the pink ones.
Those are the pink ones. So the difference between dropping down the emergency services building and adding in last year's project is 197,000 increase. I talked to CCF Bank this morning. They have their loan committee tomorrow and they don't think there will be any issue in approving the increase in the amount.
So what's the short-term amount?
The short-term amount is the, the 7.9.
326.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't save a copy for myself here.
Give us one, didn't keep one for
Yeah,
yourself.
sorry, 7,932,613, plus origination fees of 19,000 on that.
Is that pretty normal amount?
Yeah, they actually, the terms that they gave us were actually very favorable, 2.59%. They're doing it short-term, 120 days, and letting us pay it off, you know, as soon as we secure the other financing, which should be within that time frame. We did go to another bank, and eventually they just stopped contacting me. So we tried to let a few local banks have a chance at it, but so yeah, I guess we would be looking for approval for that so we can get that rolling before. We have to actually have this money to us, the draw completed, before we can go to sale with the bonds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made, seconded to approve the interim financing. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And I guess I have the next one. I had mentioned in the past Invoice Cloud. I can refresh, that's a payment processing system. We'll be going from, I think we're at 7 right now throughout the city, going to 1, getting a favorable rate, and we'll be passing all credit card fees on to the consumer instead of the city paying those. So that will save, just on the city side, around $25,000 a year. I think it would be an additional 25-ish for water and sewer as well. They will also be under this contract.
So that's not only the property taxes that people pay,
It's anything that they come to our window and pay with a credit card.
between water and sewer, online.
Correct. Yep, this will be, and this will also expand our online offerings. Shane will be able to take online payments for building permits and those sort of things.
Question, will there be a fee for automatic payment programs?
There are fees associated with the different payment programs, but a lot of them give you options. If you do an electronic check, which is, you know, you put in your checking information, it's a flat fee of $1.95, I believe.
Do we, okay, so, on like the water and sewer bill that is
Yeah.
currently on a check, that gets drawn out every month,
And your bank?
yes.
Yep.
We're gonna start charging a fee on that?
I have to look at the water and
Because I would have a problem with that. I don't think that's,
So I know there's a fee associated on our end. What they actually do is they intercept those and they process them for us instead of, right now Pat gets a pack of checks that is so thick every month that she has to go through and manually approve them. They intercept those and apply them automatically for us. As far as the fee to this consumer, I apologize, I'm looking.
I mean, I can see charging for credit cards.
Where there's fees, but if they're taking it right out of your account,
They're taking it right out of the checking account, I know.
it's
Okay,
more
so-
convenient for us than trying to collect a check from everybody every
Yeah.
month.
Right.
I don't wanna see us charging for that.
Online Bank Direct, it says 0.25%, 25 cents per transaction paid by biller, so that's actually us. So it does not look like there's a fee for that to the consumer.
That makes sense.
I think when we looked at it, we definitely ended up with, I believe, two options that you would not have to incur a fee. So you could pay, at least with two different options and not incur a fee for that.
I was talking about the people that are on auto pay.
Yeah,
That's my,
and I guess in general, that's what I was looking for, because I kind of felt the same way. I at least wanted some option for them to not incur that fee.
yeah.
And I can't really speak with all confidence on what those are, but I know there are at least two options.
Well, and all of the options are à la carte as well. So as we're going through, we can say, we'll pick up the fees on this, if there's a fee associated. But, if Shane decides for his building permits that he wants to absorb that fee into his budget, he can do that. Overall, we're trying to avoid that, because we're
Yeah.
trying to.
I just didn't wanna penalize people for having an auto pay system.
Right, and like you said, it's advantageous to us to have that.
Oh, for sure.
And along that same route, we didn't want people to start bombarding us with all checks coming in
Right.
either, which would create more work for us. So we're gonna definitely be conscientious of that balance in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
We don't
if
see everyone
you
without-
charge a fee for them to take it out of the bank, they're gonna send you a check.
Yeah, that fee is on our end, because they're increasing our efficiency dramatically.
Yeah, cool.
The follow-up question,
Mhm.
card readers or terminals, is there gonna be one in the ambulance department?
We don't currently have one there. If we need to, we can, I think it's $15 a month to rent a terminal, we can get one. The way it'll be set up is it'll all be through an online portal, and so worst case scenario, if they don't, well, I guess we do take a fair amount of ambulance payments, and so if we decide we need that, otherwise they can type it into the website as well and do it that way. So
Does
there's
it
certainly
cost more
options.
to type it, though? Usually it costs more to type it in than it is to swipe.
It does currently. I don't think that it will with this new system. That was a question we asked when we were doing it, and the card readers are more simplified than what we currently have. I think they pretty much just plug into your computer and swipe. So yeah, it won't be an issue once the ambulance is moved that they can have a reader if they're going to be accepting payments at that location. I'm not sure if that's going to be happening.
We're looking at you, Tim.
Yeah, I know.
To be determined.
Yeah, currently all ambulance payments are taken at the treasurer's window, and I wouldn't anticipate that changing, but yeah, if it needed to, it could be accommodated.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the contract with Invoice Cloud Incorporated. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution to pay the monthly bills.
Motion to approve. payment of monthly.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the monthly bills. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approve a temporary rental contract for 1004 Superior Avenue.
Can I just talk to this real quick? I told Pam that I would speak to this for her since she's not here tonight. So this is what she had talked about, temporarily renting out the 1004 to Kids and Company. What they're asking for her and the city attorney is that the council approve the city attorney and the senior center director the authority to finalize this contract with them, is basically what they're asking.
Through the summer.
Through the summer, it's just for 3 months for like a day camp, daycare.
Just for the space.
Just to use up the space and to have some payments coming in since it's been empty for so long. It's something anyways, until they could find someone to rent it out permanently.
So they're not gonna be changing any stuff inside, they're just gonna be?
No, I don't
using
think
space?
so. I think they were just maybe moving a few things around, but I don't think they're gonna be tearing anything out or painting or anything like that.
Shane and I were in there, there's some minor electrical things that he's gonna get taken care of, but that was it.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve a temporary rental contract for 1004 Superior Avenue. All in favor?
Approving the thing, or to give them the authority to go through this contract?
Yeah.
We're not actually approving the contract.
No,
Or is that
move
what-
forward.
That
Right?
was, that,
Yeah.
right, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yep.
Move as amended. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to adjourn would be
Make
in
a
order.
motion.
Second.
You made one, but, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.